Is this fine?
So how do you understand geoeconomics?
Geoeconomics is a term that's kind of coming about a bit more in the world these days.
New World Order.
Common interest.
Reflects the change in the strategic thinking.
Economy-centered approach to foreign policy.
The utilization of the economic resources to push forward the geopolitical ambition.
Regional connectivity.
Regional connectivity.
Regional connectivity.
It's all about trade.
It's about trading, cooperation between different countries.
Connectivity through trade.
Trade, economics.
I think the best example of that is China.
China and CPEC.
The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor.
CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor.
Okay, hold on. So we're hearing a lot of China, CPEC, New Age warfare, businesses, strong economies mean strong countries, and so on and on. Now listen to this.
जब तक हमारी रीजनल पीस नहीं होगी, हमारे इलाके में जो हमारे नेबर्स के साथ हमारे ताल्लुकात और ट्रेडिंग टाइज ठीक नहीं होगी, वो जो पाकिस्तान का जियो स्ट्रेटेजिक लोकेशन है, इसका हम पूरी तरह फायदा नहीं उठा सकते.
Today, the leading drivers of change in the world are demography, economy, and technology.
The idea being to increase Pakistan's economic footprint globally, but also to leverage our political relationships for economic gains and vice versa.
So what really is geoeconomics? Why has Pakistan shifted its vision from geopolitics to geoeconomics? And what does that even mean? There is a famous quote by Sun Tzu which says, "To subjugate the enemy without doing battle is the highest of excellence." Countries like China, America, Germany, Singapore, Turkey, and UAE, essentially the entire developed world, realized this many years ago. Sadly, Pakistan took many years to realize this. Since Pakistan's inception in 1947, it functioned as a geopolitical state, one with a hostile enemy, border tensions on the eastern and western front, and ever-looming security concerns. And so our internal and foreign policy was always geared towards that. This changed in March of this year. Yes, I'm talking about the clips I showed earlier. Those are from the Islamabad security dialogue that took place on 16th and 17th March. It was there that Pakistan announced its new vision of geoeconomics. And so today, 70 years later, Pakistan is a different Pakistan as it interacts with the international community. It talks about building itself through a strong economy, one that comes as a result of bilateral relations, collaborated projects of trade, infrastructure, and energy, and using innovative technology. Let's do a quick history recap. The concept of geoeconomics is not a very old concept. Over the course of history, ways of living, ways of controlling and dominating, and just basically surviving have changed. Geoeconomics, as a term of sorts, entered this race of survival in the 1990s, the Cold War period. It was with an article written by Edward Luttwak. In that, Luttwak observed that the methods of commerce were displacing military methods, with disposable capital instead of firepower, civilian innovation instead of military technical advancement, and market penetration instead of garrisons and bases. Then 3 years later, in 1993, an American political scientist, Samuel Huntington, wrote his prediction of the future as one where economic power will determine which states subordinate and which are subordinated. It was around this time that countries like China, Turkey, Singapore, and UAE were becoming important. Already existing power centers like the US, Russia, and Europe started seeing them as potential competitors. Political scientists began analyzing them as case studies for underdeveloped countries. So what really was going on? The answer: geoeconomics. Let's take the example of China. In the 1980s, there was a man called Deng Xiaoping. In the 1990s, there was a man called this guy whose name I can't pronounce.
Jiang Zemin.
And what both these men did was a lot of reforms. Social and cultural, but largely just a lot of economic reforms. Now there's a man called Xi Jinping, and he's treading the same path. Today, China is the #1 manufacturing and trading nation. Its gross domestic product is the second largest in the world, and the largest if measured by purchasing power parity. And so while the US was fighting wars, spending trillions of dollars on foreign invasions and building armies, China was spending on its economy. It is this geoeconomic dream that China embodied for itself that changed the architecture of global politics, from a unipolar world to a bipolar world. You see how geoeconomics is not just economic tools, it's a lot more. It's how those tools of economic boom, be it in the form of trade, energy, and infrastructure, help advance geopolitical objectives. To put it simply, these case studies tell us that geoeconomics is almost a ladder to national security, international recognition, and development across many fronts. In today's world, if you're strong geo-economically, it means you're strong. Let's take a look at some instances when states use these economic instruments to promote their national interests. Pakistan got security aid from the US in different periods, right? Now it's interesting how the US at multiple times used that aid to punish Pakistan. In the early 1990s, for example, the US placed economic sanctions on Pakistan for covertly working on its nuclear weapons program.
I have made it clear to the leaders of Pakistan that we have no choice but to impose sanctions pursuant to the Glenn Amendment, as is required by law.
Another example that comes to mind is from 2019. The US and the UK banned Chinese telecommunications company Huawei as it left Samsung and Apple behind in the global smartphone market share with a 17% growth.
We're deeply concerned about the risks of allowing any company or entity that is beholden to foreign governments that don't share our values.
China's doing the same thing. It has cut car imports from Japan and withheld rare earths export. Surprise, surprise, it's doing so to exert its position over territory and sovereignty in the East China Sea conflict with the US and Japan. Russia is also doing the same thing, literally. In 2008, it shut off gas pipelines to parts of Europe in the middle of winter amid political disputes.
What matters is that we opened the tap and are ready to supply gas. But on the Ukrainian side, the tap is closed and no gas is being transported.
You see now how wars are being fought in very economic terms? That is geo-economics. And so, more and more countries are now realizing the importance of geo-economics. Singapore developed this human resource to industrialize, and in doing so, it picked itself from poverty and malnutrition. The UAE used its vast reserves of oil to become an economic hub. Closer to home, Central Asian republics are also now realizing the potential of geo-economic connectivity. At home, Pakistan is realizing how much its unique location on the map has to offer, and how Pakistan's shift from geopolitics to geoeconomics can really change a lot of stuff out here, if done well. The people of Pakistan should be able to see this shift, in the sense that a lot of the money that was being put in the armed forces to securitize the state should now be put into health, human resource, education, trade, commerce. Businesses should feel empowered. More jobs should be created, opportunities in innovative technologies should be incentivized. All in all, it should feel like a Pakistan more fit to be a part of the 21st century global politics, One that breaks from the old world and really catches up with the rest of the world. One that benefits the people. One that makes us a powerful economy. Because after all, a powerful economy is a powerful country.